friends. It is good to be here this morning. Thanks for joining at Journey Home Meditation for the morning sit. I'm not sure what we're going to do with our practice this morning, but it's probably going to look very similar to the practice that we keep here daily. So let's just take a few moments to settle in. We'll get ready with some shared breathing practice. I think this is a very valuable practice, and it's something that we can do throughout our day, just to pause for a few moments. Um, Much of our days we are sort of pre-programmed to respond immediately. By the time someone finishes asking a question, we are already answering, if we even wait until the end of the question to answer them. Oftentimes I hear the ways in which we communicate to be kind of rapid fire, one on top of the other, on top of the other, until there's this cacophony of sound in a room. And I think that there's something that makes sense, that so many of us feel isolated and alone and unheard. When you stand in a room of people, even people who love and care for each other immensely, and you experience that there's all of these sort of one-sided conversations happening at the same time over top of one another. And before someone even is finished with a thought or sharing a story, someone else is already piling in. And I know the feeling inside of myself when I do that, when someone's saying something that I begin to recognize and connect with. I want so much to connect that I want to immediately share how I relate to that story and that person. And it's almost like I'm jumping out of my skin to connect with that person. But the ironies are abundant in that the thing that I want so desperately is to see and be seen by another person, to have a deeper connection than just the superficial sort of storylines that kind of live on the surface. But the behaviors that I have adopted have left everything at a surface level. So that by the time we finish the conversation, there's two or more people who are completely isolated from one another still. And one of the practices that we encourage in, let's say, a grief circle, is to pause for a few moments after someone speaks. Just take a couple of breaths. We suggest 2, maybe even 3 breaths. And the reason for that, specifically in the context of a grief circle, is that in our culture, we are not acclimated to being able to share our deepest pains and sorrows uninterrupted and without someone attempting to fix us. And when we create that container, that space for that level of opening, people will say things that they've felt for a long time but have never actually spoken or heard out loud. And that pause of just a couple breaths of silence allows for the reality of what was spoken to not only be spoken by the person, but to be heard by the person and felt. And that space is, even just a couple of breaths, an enormous space for healing. I felt it myself when I'm given that space, and I've witnessed it when I offer that space. But it's not just about touching into the depths of our sorrows. That space like this can be very beneficial and create such a larger experience uh, within our communications. So, learning and practicing ourselves when we are doing this interpersonal work, right? This work that we are engaging in from somewhat separated but together spaces, right? I have a reaction to self help. Um, I I much prefer helping one another, uh, but even in doing that, it's really clear that each of us has work to do within ourselves. But supporting that in one another, that's that's a pretty phenomenal way forward. And we can support that with learning how to hold silent space of breath, but still be present. Not even but still, like, and also be present, to be fully present through our silence and our breath together. So let's find that practice right now. It doesn't have to be a long time, just that few moments to find that place of gratitude to be sitting with this practice, with this shared opportunity for connection. and bringing this into the way we communicate with one another. Uh, it can still have excitement and still have enrichment, and the stories can be large and vast, and we can have space for one another to laugh together and to be ecstatic. Um, in fact, I think that when I am in my practice of non speaking over, like not interrupting, when I'm in my practice of listening as much as I'm speaking, if not more, uh, the stories have so much more volume. Uh, and you can witness it in yourself when somebody's truly listening to you. Witness that, feel what that feels like to be truly listened to and to feel heard. It's kind of rare, I think. Um, and you can witness it when you are listening to someone and you can watch their face and their body language shifts as they become more confident that they are in this place of um, safe communication. Um, because the ability to feel heard and understood opens us up to trusting that we can share anything. And it starts slow and it starts small, but that's good. That's good. Um, Sometimes in our culture, we have this rapid fire kind of way of communicating. And when somebody first gets involved in a conversation where they are actually being centered and being heard, and the room is offering a gift of silence to that person while they share, oftentimes people will just open the floodgates and just, wow, let me tell you everything. And then by the end of that conversation, they are depleted, exhausted, and they don't actually feel that much better. They feel a burden lifted that they've opened something, but this can be a way of communicating that requires some skill, needs some skillfulness. So to facilitate groups like that, it's important to be able to um, hold space in a way that when somebody is fully opening in this way, you can say, "Hey, it's all here, but we don't have to do it all at once. Let's take it bit by bit. There's a lot here that we want to give um, space for. And when we fill it all up with all of our stuff, we just kind of yard sale ourselves onto the floor in front of the room, then we can feel emptied. Not in a way of we can feel emptiness as a way of being, an openness, but emptied as in like I am completely bared and open and vulnerable. And that can be a scary place to be in if you don't have already established feelings of safety within the group. So, just some thoughts. Um, but this all comes back to those couple of breaths. I know that I talk a lot about the power of this breathing practice as such a simple practice. It's not an athletic feat of superhuman technologies that we've developed to stay underwater for 19 minutes or whatever it is. Uh, those things are wonderful. Using our bodies in new and creative and innovative ways to heal and strengthen and open, these are all beautiful practices. But this simple practice is so empowering that I feel it is important to talk about it every day, just a little bit. It doesn't hurt me to spend a few minutes talking about this because I need the reminder. Uh, so let's have a couple of intentional breaths where we're going to shift the way that we breathe, not just from being present with our breath, but actually having a level of dominion in our breath. So, what we're going to do is just sit as upright as you can. We're going to be facilitating breath, which means to make it easier. If you're seated as I am, legs crossed in any number of comfortable positions that you're not going to cause harm on a pillow and a cushion or a mat, rug, um, then sitting upright is facilitated, is made easier by putting a bolster underneath your body so that your butt comes up and your hips are level with your knees or higher. And that helps to create a level of balance that encourages the spine to straighten a bit more. Let your shoulders relax. Bring your shoulder blades together just slightly in the back, just enough to open the chest. Laying your hands palms up on your lap helps to roll the shoulder joint open just a little bit. And we're going to be breathing in through our nose to the bottom of the belly, letting the abdomen expand and collapse, letting the chest just lie still. Let's have a few breaths together, shall we? If anytime through this breathing practice you find tension or something that's coming up for you, just adjust your body as needed. Breathing in through the nose, I am breathing in. And out of the mouth. I'm breathing in. Again. Sometimes I find it difficult to step away from that practice. Taking just a few breaths is it opens me to want to sit here for 20 or 30 minutes just in that breath, but that's not what we're here to do together. So, but in your practice, as you develop these skills and work on this, yeah, sitting for as long as you like is definitely it's such a gift. It's such a gift to give to yourself and to your family and your friends because these ways of coming home, these ways of returning to this place that for many of us has been um, an unwelcoming space, being inside of my feelings, inside of my sensations in my body hasn't always been a place that felt safe or felt welcoming. And so because of that, I was uncomfortable with my own feelings when they would come up. And they would come up quite strongly sometimes because it's like a child in the grocery store, mom, 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 mom. And then as the child feels ignored, they get louder and louder, and they're just screaming. Uh, and that's what our emotions do. That's what our body does. I tell students often, if you don't listen to the body when it whispers, you're going to have to hear it scream. This is something I learned from a bodybuilder, a friend of mine, who really focuses on strength training and sculpting his body. And he has this really beautiful practice of mindfulness with his own body. And this is something he learned, and he was sharing that with me when I was working out with him to try to strengthen parts of my body that maybe needed some help for my balance and for my body to feel good. Um, and he helped me greatly. And that was one of the things that he taught me, was that when you don't listen to the body whisper, you have to hear it scream. So pay close attention to how your body feels. He was speaking specifically when I was doing the weight training, but it applies across the board. You know, when you're eating food, pay attention to how that food feels in the body. Pay attention to how your body is receiving. When you're having sex, paying attention to the smallest feelings of the body instead of focusing your mind on some end result. Being wrapped in each of those moments really expands and sort of explodes the sexual experience into something entirely different than maybe the modes that we have learned um, to share sexual experiences. Um, when having an argument or a confrontation, really being able to bring our level of awareness into our body and feel what we're feeling can inform the ways in which we resolve conflict with one another. The ways in which I can arrive for my pain dictates how I release that pain. And um, if we are unable to feel our feelings, then we will inevitably make others feel them for us. This is true both with our pain and with those feelings of love and connection and safety. Um, as a person who has had plenty of experience entering into codependent relationships since I was a child, one of those earmarks for me of understanding when I'm in that level of communication, that way of communicating that's codependent, is when I need the person that I'm in relation with to feel the things that I need to feel, when I need them to feel love and comfort and devotion and safety and acceptance. And if I don't feel like they're feeling them, then I feel lack in myself. Well, that's evident right there that I'm not allowing myself to feel those things in myself. So I need to project them and make sure that someone else is feeling them so that I can get a sense that at least they exist. Well, that's a me issue. That's a me issue. That's me not being aware of my body and feeling the ways in which I am tethered to another and connected and safe and accepted and desired. So I want them to feel it so strongly that it reflects back to me. Um, and that's a big revelation, that when I am unable to feel what I feel, I will make others feel it for me. So there's a lot of depth to this practice of just a few breaths. The sensation of the belly rising and falling, the tightness in parts of your body, those physical sensations are openings into emotional experience. Just allow yourself to go there. Right now, I'm feeling sorrow and sadness for how much in my life I may have not allowed myself to feel the feelings of love, and worked so hard to push them on to somebody else for my own benefit. And that's hmm. Fred Rogers said that if it's mentionable, it's manageable. So I just mentioned it. Yeah. And I can manage that. I think that this is what keeps us stuck in some cycles. The inability to feel those feelings and those sensations inside of our own bodies in the moment returns us in our mind to a time when we did. It makes sense. It makes sense. Um, I recall uh, the movie Hook. There's a scene with the Lost Boys, and they're all sitting around the table, and Peter can't see the food. Right? There's no food there. There's no food. He can't see it, and everybody else is talking about the food that they see, and they're eating, and they're loving it, and they're just going through the motions, and he can't see it, and he gets really frustrated. And then when he can, when he allows himself to experience that, then all of a sudden there's this opening of this feast and this big food fight and this fun. Um, and that's about allowing himself to open to a possibility deeper than what he sees in his neck up world. In his head, he can't, you can't live in your head. It was when, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into Hook, but that is the creative use of our imagination to bring us into the ability to feel what it is we need to feel in the moment. And unfortunately, we substitute our creativity for our nostalgia, and we use nostalgic things to bring us back. And this isn't a bad thing, but it's unfortunate when we replace feeling now for what we felt then, and we stay there and we relive those things again and again, and it puts us into cycles where we continue to seek feelings of connection in the same old avenues that aren't really fulfilling us. This is why we have to keep coming back and keep coming back, because you're not being nourished, you're not being filled. This is why, you could sit and eat a whole bag of Oreos while watching a movie, because you're not actually being nourished. Your body's getting filled with stuff, but it's not nourishing you. Um, and they're delicious. Well, it's just, of course, of course, there's no shame in understanding that. But if I want to get to a place where I can start to love and accept my behaviors, I have to understand why they are there in the first place. And I think when we get stuck in nostalgia and relive the same thing over and over again, even the uncomfortable thing, even the suffering, we relive the suffering over and over. We are seeking a way to connect to a sensation or a feeling that we have not been able to fully understand. And because of that, we can't find it in our lives daily. We can't find it internally. This can lead to extremely codependent relationships, manipulations, habits that aren't super good, all these things. And that can all come back to just a few breaths. See where you are right now. We've been sharing this week some things from Andrea Gibson, but I think the biggest lesson that I'm learning right now from Andrea Gibson is um, Meet yourself with a level of acceptance that you would give to anyone else in the world. Find that when we are talking about our compassion for those who are suffering, remember that we are in that circle. When we are talking about the death of a loved one and we're talking about, I just feel so bad for their loved ones, their family. Well, you are there. You are a loved one. When we're talking about the suffering of anything, to remember that I am suffering with this. I may not be suffering to the degree that a child in Gaza is suffering right now. Absolutely not. I'm not trying to say that I am right there, but I need to remember that this is a part of my existence and I have agency here, and I need to know that so that I can move forward in a way that's acting with integrity and working towards ending the sufferings. And like, it has to start somewhere. I don't have the capacity to feed a million people, but if I don't have the capacity to feel my own body when I'm fed, then I'm going to have a hard time um, stepping into right thought and right action. But don't let that stop you. We have this belief, I think, that once I am healthy, then I will move into these things. And so we get stuck in this trap of doing the self-help thing all over and over and over, and we keep returning to the methods and the modalities, and we don't get out of it. You don't have to wait to start behaving in healthier ways, in loving ways, in compassionate ways, in kind ways. Don't expect perfection before you start to embrace moving through this world the way that you feel deeply connected and loving and kind, and making that a priority. Hmm. I didn't plan to talk about any of that. It's all right. I have some good feelings coming up, some good sadness and some good joy and some good hopefulness. The Banksons have a song where she says, "Hope comes from the place where the hurt comes." So when we dive into getting into that place, we see how closely related all those things are: the joy, the sorrow, the healing, the hurt. It's all right there together. And believe it or not, shifting the way that we all communicate together, standing in circles with our friends, can have an enormous shift in the way we relate to the world. It really can. I don't know how to explain that any further, and I don't know if I need to. But learning how to take a pause, to listen fully, to let someone have space to speak, and to sit and listen to them without interrupting and jumping in with your part of the story. And it's something I do. I do it often. And the times that I don't do it, I recognize that when I am listening more deeply, I walk away feeling more understood. The times when I am offering space to hold space for someone, those are the times that I feel more seen, more connected. Um, the times when I am not selling myself are the times I feel more desired. It's interesting. So maybe that can be our offering this weekend, is to work on what it is to slow down and take a few breaths in all of these places in our lives that are not on the pillow, that are not in our meditation practice, that are not in our prayerful moments, but are in our mundane interactions. And we can start to integrate these things because these are not supposed to be segregated practices. This do not compartmentalize your life. You don't have to have spirituality over here and physicality over here and sexuality over here. You can have them all. It's like a layer cake, right? We're a layer cake. And what are you going to do if you get rid of the middle? You know, what are you going to do? All you're doing is making your cake smaller. So now you've got less cake. Don't delete parts of your life. Don't compartmentalize in that way. Have it all. Accommodate everything. You know, I'm sitting here recognizing I don't have a poem picked out for today, but where is it? You know what? I'm not going to force it. I've got a beautiful book of poems here by Mary Oliver, but I'm going to share this one. I was going to not share, and then as soon as I was going to not share, At Blackwater Pond opened up, and this is one of my favorite short poems, and this will be it for today. This is At Blackwater Pond by Mary Oliver. At Blackwater Pond, the tossed waters have settled after a night of rain. I dip my cupped hands. I drink a long time. It tastes like stone, leaves, fire. It falls cold into my body, waking the bones. I hear them deep inside me whispering, "Oh, what is that beautiful thing that just happened?" I don't know if there's a better poem about mindfulness and feeling your body than that. I dip my cupped hands and I drink a long time. It tastes like stone, leaves, fire. It falls cold into my body, waking the bones. I hear them deep inside me whispering, "Oh, what is that beautiful thing that just happened?" Hmm. Thanks, everybody, for being here today. Um, yeah, communicate, be in touch. Share your experiences with what it's like to step into your feeling of your body from times of dissociation into reassociation. How has that brought you into an awareness of other people and what they might be going through? And maybe consider what it's like for you when you are dissociated from your body, how difficult it might be to relate to somebody else in that moment when you're feeling your pain and you feel like it's all yours and you're in your head and you're avoiding it. It's difficult for me to sit with others when I'm doing that. So maybe share some experiences with us on what's happened for you in the times when you've come back into your body, or how it's been for you to feeling as if you had to leave your body just to get by each day. I think there's a lot of value in hearing each other's stories about this so that we can understand, one, that I'm not alone and I'm not an aberration and I'm not broken. And two, if there are others who feel this, then there is hope. There's hope to find this practice together. Have a wonderful Saturday and Sunday. I'll see you on Monday. Hariom.